Hello, today we are going to install OpenBSD 7.5 and the KDE Plasma 5 desktop. So the release was a number of days ago, 5th of April 2024. This is the official webpage of the OpenBSD operating system and project. OpenBSD.org says OpenBSD 7.5. This is the changelog. We're going to go to the end of the page. In here it says how to install for AMD 64 and that we should prefer the install75.iso file. So it says that we should go to the pub OpenBSD 7.5 directory on one of the mirror sites. The list of mirrors is here. So this FTP page link. Let's use one of the CDNs fastly. cdn.openbsd.org/pub/openbsd 7.5 AMD 64, and the file to download is install75.iso. You can also see by the size that the bigger files are the ones that we actually need. The alternative is cd75.iso, which is just 11 megabytes, whereas install75.iso is 700 megabytes. I've already downloaded the file. Let's read a bit. So this is the list of files that you can find on the mirror. This is the file that we need, and this is the alternative. But then it says for the alternative that it will require base and X sets because they're not present on the CD-ROM image. So I want as many sets, as many tarballs to be available on the ISO, and then the binary packages will download and install using package_add command line. So let's start installing in a QEMU Virt Manager virtual machine. File, new virtual machine, local ISO, browse, refresh. So the name is install75.iso. Choose volume. Could not detect the operating system, and we don't want to select an old version of OpenBSD like 7.3. We actually want a generic Linux from 2022, pretty close in the specifications for the virtual machine. Okay, enough vCPUs, CPU threads, and memory. And this is OpenBSD 7.5. Customize. Finish. So should be BIOS, not UEFI, the newest motherboard. CPUs should be one CPU socket. The rest of the defaults are okay. So memory, boot options, only VirtIO hard disk, fast network interface card VirtIO, CD-ROM is install75.iso, and tablet. Begin installation. So it will boot from the CD-ROM, and it will allow us to start the installer command line text user interface application. For that, we need to press the Y key on the keyboard to install, choose your keyboard layout default, probably English US, host name, the same as the name of the virtual machine, OpenBSD 75. Network interfaces, the VirtIO one, IPv4 auto-configure DHCP because the virtualization software Virt Manager provides a DHCP server, no IPv6, enough network interface cards, the password for the root OpenBSD user, start SSH server, yes. I will run the X Windows system. Do you want xenodm? Yes. Change the default console to the serial console? No. A user that will be administrator but not the root user account. Administrator. The password. Okay, root should not be able to log in using SSH. Time zone New York time. This is the VirtIO disk. Encrypt no. MBR is okay. The default is way too convoluted, but that's the way it is. Do I want to install tarballs from CD sets? Yes, from the CD-ROM. Correct path. All of the sets. Directory, there's no SHA-SUMs. Continue without verification, yes. It's installing the kernels. There's 3 kernels there. The single thread SMP one and there's the tarballs for base, compilers, man pages, BSD games, X. It asks me if we want to install additional sets, CD sets. Nope. Firmware update, relinking the kernel, SMP multiprocessor machine, so it's using bsd.mp. The installation is done, the virtual hard disk has been formatted correctly, files have been copied, OpenBSD has been fully installed with all of the sets. Next, we want to reboot into the clean install inside of the virtual machine. It boots from the CD-ROM. There's from the hard disk. There's no CD-ROM anymore in the drive. This removal of the CD-ROM is done automatically by Virt Manager. We try to not use this graphical user interface console from the virtualization software in order to connect to the virtual machine, like at all. For that, we're going to use the SSH server that has been installed. So let's connect. SSH administrator, add Ctrl+Shift+V. Yes. Password. Next up, I'm going to follow my own installation instructions for OpenBSD. So for OpenBSD greater than or equal to 7.5, there is KDE Plasma 5 available, including KWin there's a meta package named KDE-Plasma. Okay, so I'm the administrator user. Let's become the root user using su-. Asks for the password of the user root. We will enable the alternative to sudo, which is named doas. So this thing. Back as the user administrator. Now let's see if doas works correctly. The first user that we have created during the installer, which is named administrator, has doas powers. Now it asks for the password of the user administrator, not for the password of the user root. Next up, I'm installing some packages using package add. So it's a GNU Bash for my terminal shell for both the user administrator and the user root. And I traditionally install Git. We could have survived without it, but MC is really needed when you only can connect via SSH to a virtual machine, in my opinion. Emacs nox is not so needed because there's a minimal emacs available out of the box in OpenBSD, which is named mg. So we could have used mg instead of emacs nox 11. So the name of the package is a bit complicated, so it's -emacs no underscore x11. Okay, now I'm as the user root, and as the user administrator. So I press Ctrl D to exit from being the user root. Okay, we can even exit from the SSH connection back to the SSH connection. And now we're inside of Bash, not inside of the default shells that exist for the user root and for the user administrator. Okay. So OpenBSD 7.5 has KDE Plasma 5. It has landed during the development of current between 7.4 and 7.5 OpenBSD. Okay. And what we really want to do is to run package add KDE Plasma. KDE Plasma Extra contains a few more extra KDE applications. So there's KDE Connect, the desktop calculator KCalc, Kate, the text editor. Let's see exactly what it contains. Open BSD package search Ctrl-V. Does not work like this. Okay, so on Google I search for OpenBSD package search. I find openbsd.app and also openports.pl. In here I go to meta packages, so the meta group, and there's KDE Plasma and KDE Plasma Extras. KDE Plasma Extras is Ocular, Kate, GwenView the image viewer, Spectacle the screenshot, App, Arc the unarchiver, and a random calendar application. For KDE Plasma, we have instructions on how to start KDE Plasma from xinitrc or xsession. Back to my instructions. So I am connected via OpenSSH. doas works correctly. Let's run it. Install the Meta KDE Plasma. This will install, I don't know, 1000 packages, maybe more. So it's going to take 10 minutes on my machine with really fast internet connection. We'll be back once it finishes installing all of the needed packages. So the meta package KDE-Plasma has finished installing. Now I want to connect to the virtual machine without using the virtualization software graphical console, and I would normally do it over remote desktop protocol. There's no XRDP package for OpenBSD. So I'm using the next best thing, which is tigervnc. So package add tigervnc. This installs the VNC server tigervnc. We're running as the user administrator. And we're starting the VNC server in foreground, -FG. Asks, this is the first time that we have started the VNC server tigervnc, asks for a password, which needs to be at least 6 characters long. And then if we want a view-only password, no. And now it's creating configuration files. So tilde/.vnc directory. And in there's this file xstartup, where we will put content similar to what you would put inside of a .xinitrc file. And we know the content that we need to put there because it's documented here on the readme of the Meta KDE Plasma package, which is available either at this URL or it's documented on my wiki, nmariusp.github.io/install-os.html in here. And I have also copy pasted the instructions here. Okay. Let's stop the VNC server Ctrl+C. I'm still running as the user administrator. I will ignore the original tilde/.vnc/xstartup configuration file. So I'm moving the existing file with this part at the end of the name, so tilde orig. I'm using the emacs that's available in OpenBSD base, which is named mg, to create from scratch the file tilde/.vnc/xstartup. This is the content that we want from inside of the file and the trailing new line. And now we're going to save, Ctrl+X/S, Ctrl+X/C. And we're also going to make the file executable. And we're very near to the final. We're starting the VNC server. The VNC server has finished starting and now it's running. It's running in the foreground. We're opening a new terminal tab. So we're using console. The command line is something like this, but the URL ends with 7, not with 180. asks for the 6-character read-write password. And we're connected successfully to the OpenBSD KDE Plasma 5 virtual machine using the protocol VNC, using the tigervnc server and tigervnc viewer from the host machine, which is a Linux machine where we have QEMU and virt manager installed. Okay. Once we resize the VNC client window, the KDE Plasma 5 desktop inside the virtual machine is being told, hey, please resize to this resolution. While running inside VNC, the resolution is always very strange, like in this case 1876 by 1052 with strange aspect ratios. But that's a good thing because, for instance, you can continue using your web browser in the hardware machine, on the host machine, and use the rest of OpenBSD inside of the virtual machine on the guest machine. And copy paste of text should work. Let's prove that. There's just one application that's usable in here, which is console. Let's favorite it, add to favorites. Now when we start the KDE Plasma 5 start menu, it starts by default with applications and favorites selected, and we can just click on console. Let's select some text, copy, and paste. Works correctly between the host and the guest. Okay. Next up, we don't like this not needed icon. Plasma Discover is the KDE application store application. It's not working on OpenBSD, not available as a package, so you should remove this not needed icon. Right click on it, unpin from Task Manager. And then what you want to do, because if the screen locks, you might not be able to re-log in, is to configure inside KDE system settings that the desktop never locks. Search for lock, screen locking, and you uncheck lock screen automatically after. Okay. The other screen locking suspend functionality is in here in energy saving, and it's not enabled by default, which is a good thing. It should not suspend automatically. It's a virtual machine, doesn't do much by default. If we really want to stop it, we could either do it from inside the virtual machine, such as shutdown minus power off and then now, or we might do virtual machine things, like we might save the state of the virtual machine instead of actually shutting it down or suspending it. Or you might turn it off and create a snapshot. It's always a good idea after you create a virtual machine to create a snapshot. You shut it down, you create a snapshot named, I don't know, initial. So the snapshot after you finished installing the operating system. Okay, and that's it. Next steps would be to continue installing the software that you need. You don't have a web browser yet, so you could install such a thing. I recommend Firefox. I use Firefox private browsing. Next up, you would want to install the text editor from KDE, which is Kate. This will also install kwrite. Just ignore kwrite and use Kate. Kate is a superset of kwrite. And it's also a good idea to add this to favorites. So in favorites, I usually have console, Kate, and Crusader. Let's see if Crusader is available. So Crusader is a file manager, not the default KDE file manager, which is this one, Dolphin, but another one, still from the KDE community, one which is twin panes, has a left and a right half of the screen, showing different directories in each other. Okay, let's configure it really fast. And the editor, let's use Kate in here. So that's /usr/local because it comes from OpenBSD ports, bin, and then Kate. Okay, it looks like this by default, but I hide some of the things that I have never ever used, like all of the toolbars and the function keys and the status bars. And then I show the embedded terminal. I open it. And then I pin it to the task manager on the first position. Okay, so next up you install your web browser, and maybe you need more KDE applications such as Ocular, the PDF viewer. And this would be how you install the latest released version of OpenBSD 7.5 plus KDE Plasma 5 in a QEMU virtual machine that's using the latest virtualization technologies, which means network interface card of type virt.io, hard disk, virtual hard disk of type virt.io. And in order to not have to configure the X server and not have the resolution working, or not have copy paste working, or not have any number of things working, I'm never connecting to the virtual machine using the virtualization software. I'm connecting either via SSH or via tigervnc if I want graphical user interface. So this is it. Thank you.